I wonder how many people would be here. Anything, everything, every day. We're totally depending on people that they do their job properly. And some of them are paid very low. And we don't even spend one thought on it. It's not to make you feel guilty, okay? Don't go into the Jewish trip there. It's to feel grateful. But it's kind of freaky and frightening to know that we live dangled to hundreds of thousands of vulnerable threads, many of which could be cut at any moment. How does that feel, you know, the impermanence? To feel so dependent. That so many things have to work together so we can have the life that we have. Clinging to permanence, thinking that things will always be the way I want them. We're pretty sure, you know, that none of us has to fight for food. We have to pay for it, yeah, and it's getting more and more expensive. That I agree, but we don't have to fight for it. There's still enough in the supermarkets, the markets, the shops. Again, it's frightening to think that it can end. But if we realize this truth that it can end, it starts to make us appreciate what we have now. Also, on the other hand, opening to this truth of being dependent on so many things can silence the lies of unwarranted self-criticism. You can hear, yeah, these words, these wonderful words are not from me. But it's true. As I said, you know, when you live in a situation where you know that you're depending on others, on their kindness, you become a person that is more open. Gratitude. Gratitude is an attitude, it's a mental factor, it opens the heart. So of course we need others. Of course the underlying causes and conditions have to be present to succeed at anything. Of course we cannot grow roses in a parking lot. We are frail, soft, vulnerable, hurt by little things and hungry for love. When you let this in, you're not so hard on yourself or others. We can admit that we fail sometimes. We get angry, we're frightened, we're depressed. It's okay. It's normal. It's human. Don't be the superhero who is independent. So accepting dependence brings you into harmony with the way it actually is. All things, from ants to galaxies, arise and pass away in dependence on all other things. Dependence is nothing to be ashamed of, in spite of our culture's hyper-emphasis on independence. So my question to you is now, do you really think you're independent? And it's not to be ashamed of to be dependent, because we're also participating to others' well-being and to others' happiness. Hearing the voice of someone you love, eating a strawberry, or taking a breath, realizing your dependence brings you into almost ecstatic gratitude when you see that the 10,000 vulnerabilities are actually 10,000 gifts. The attitude, they owe this to me, is bringing a lot of suffering. The attitude, how fortunate I am that these 10,000 things are working so I can have the life that I have, which, yeah, of course, it's not paradise, but still makes my life easy, comfortable. I have people that love me. I have people that allow me to love them. How wonderful that is. Imagine being alone. Or imagine that for the next year you leave all your doors locked, give up your favorite food and don't speak with any friends or family. Let it sink in that you use or need many people and things each day. Try to have a matter-of-fact attitude about this, knowing that this is a basic truth, not just for you, but for everybody. Then look in the other direction. Recognize how so many others depend on you. They are affected by how you smile, your tone of voice, and whether you pick up bread on the way home tonight. When we see this, it makes us feel good. We are connected rather than isolated, and someone who makes a difference. It also makes us feel more tender and kind towards others. But again, you hear these words, tender and kind. It doesn't mean that we're not trying to stop somebody who is harming us, harming others, or harming themselves. Like a mother. A mother's tenderness and love for the child can be very fierce when the child is endangering him or herself. Even a savta or a saba, you'll know it. And sometimes we need to be fierce. Sometimes to ourselves, sometimes to others, but with a tender fierceness. That's difficult. So to finish this, be honest with yourself about your own needs and the things that make a difference for you. And I will start to see what is good for me, what nourishes me, what heals my fear, my depression, my anger, my jealousy, my arrogance. Is it this view of I'm independent? Or is it the view of seeing how we're depending on so many things? Somebody just put the shawl over her head. Did you think about who made this shawl and said thank you? To keep you from the cold wind from the aircon? Somebody might enjoy the aircon. Feel it, experience it. Did you make it? Did you pay for it? Did you put it up? No, but it's there for us to enjoy. So paradoxically, the more open we are to the humility of dependence, the more straightforward we are about watering our own personal fruit tree. When the heart is open, there's a lot of wisdom there that we know what's good for us and what's not good for us. And whatever we do that is good for us, again, totally depending on others doing their job, or being kind to us, or whatever. Okay. I do this with school kids sometimes when I have to give them an introduction to Buddhism. I have 45 minutes. To school kids who are absolutely not interested in listening. So it's quite a challenge. So then we do this, we take one object, a pen or a sneaker, not even a phone or something like that. A pen, a sneaker, a piece of chocolate. And I start asking them, what do you think? Who else and what does it need so that this thing is here now? And there's no end. We can spend the whole 45 minutes and there is no end. So what do you think with this dependence thing? Did it open up a little bit something and, make you feel a bit, in a way, smaller, but on the other hand, bigger? Because ego is not so big, because when the ego is very big, I'm independent, I don't need anybody, I can do this by myself. I know, it's my usual attitude when I'm with others. Sometimes I really get on people's nerves that I don't let them do anything for me. And it's difficult for them, so then I have to also slowly change and accept. Yeah, but somehow this whole thing is like, no, I can do it on my own. Do you know people like this? I'm one of them. So be careful when you invite me. Well, maybe not when I'm just staying for dinner. I don't go and wash the dishes. But on his place, I'm the one who is washing dishes. No way. But she is good. She accepts. So that's good. So, what do you think about this, this basic truth, how dependent we are on others? The ones who know me, we always make this go a little bit into a discussion, even though I think you have discussion. I don't have a schedule, by the way. Where's Connie? Maybe you can give me one so that I try to keep to the schedule. I find it very helpful anyway. If you don't, then what can I do? Thank you very much.
We have discussion.
Okay, we have discussion. So then you can discuss whatever you would like to discuss, trying to help each other. Maybe not so much just talk about all the bad things that are happening now, but if you have found some ways to deal with it in a good way. Like we did at Corona. During Corona times, people didn't get so upset. They were also upset, they were lonely, but there was no... That's it, we had to accept, we cannot change it. Although the rules that they put up, this we got upset about, some people. And, some others found it helpful, some others got upset, and some others went in Switzerland, demonstrate against the Corona rules. We want freedom. It was really funny. How many of you speak French? Okay, so they would, also in the German-speaking part, they would shout, liberté, liberté, liberté. In German, this would think, I prefer tea. Right? So somebody started shouting, Lieber Kaffee, Lieber Kaffee. So this is kind of, this is, it has become so dear to us in the Western world, this independence, and I want to do, even if it's harming me, I want to go where there's a lot of people who are sick and not very much. At the beginning, we had people, when you get a ticket in the train station, you touch screen, we had people licking that touch screen to show that they're not afraid. Yeah, exactly. I mean, how stupid can you be to show that I'm independent, I don't believe anything, I do whatever I want, leave me alone. this is just success, right? But this is what it makes you, what it can make us do. This kind of whole thing about independence, and yeah, so like this. So to see how dependent we are, I think, could be helpful. Being independent can make you very lonely. Yeah, this is the problem about independence, and it's a lie. It's a total illusion that we are independent. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go around and kind of, whatever you consume, take your cup and you start to think, who made the cup, this, and then why is the water in the cup, who put it there, well, like you never drink and you never eat. So again, you don't have to go to the extreme of that. But just from time to time to really think, to allow the negative things, the difficult things, to maybe go aside a bit and go, yes, but, usually the yes, but we use in a way that is not helpful. When all of a sudden we see all the good things, then the yes, but comes in. Yes, but this. But it's not helpful. We can use the yes, but in more helpful things. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I would like to start talking a little bit about, how much time do we have here? Until 12. Whoa, can you hold on like this? Oh, it's 11. Okay, about, the basic wrong views that the Buddha pointed out. I will also talk about this in the cinema, where I've been asked to give a talk in the Cinematheque, I think it is, or somewhere, when there's a movie on nuns in Tibet, and but then I was asked, well, the talk has nothing to do with the movie. Okay, so anyway, so I thought, yeah, that's a good way. And I think this is really good for us to maybe recognize, maybe not. So again, whatever I'm saying, this is what Buddhism says. You find it helpful, you adapt it. You don't find it helpful, you don't believe it. And it's true, we're very good at not believing things. It doesn't mean we have to get upset in order not to believe them. We just say, no, this is not helpful, or I don't like it, because the Buddha gave like 84,000 teachings, and it doesn't mean that everybody has to practice these 84,000 teachings. It's like a chemist shop, right? So they have medicines for diarrhea and they have medicines for constipation. If you don't know and you're so independent and you just go in and think, oh, these pink ones I like, and maybe you have constipation and it's medicine for diarrhea, well, then you're really in problem. Yeah. So all these methods are to be applied to a certain kind of people or personality or situation, and then it will become the antidote, because the theme is, negative emotions and their antidote. So they all have an antidote, but we don't like the antidote so much because it's painful. It's painful not to follow negative afflictions, or how else could we? Usually, at the beginning was delusions. Delusions is not such a good word. Mental poisons, yeah? Like the Tibetan word for this one, yeah, affliction, klesha. It's not Tibetan, this is Sanskrit. So the Tibetan word for these things, afflictive emotions, is like nyön mo. It means that a mental factor comes up in your mind that makes the mind agitated, unclear, and distorted. This is in these two little things. That's the whole explanation, which is great because this is exactly what it is. But the problem is we don't see it like that, because there is a I, me, who is kind of poked, and then something comes up, either attachment to whatever, it can be attached to pleasure, of course. This is very instinctive. Then we can be attached, as I said before, to either existence or non-existence. Yeah, like we have moments where we would like the floor to open and goodbye disappear. When we're kind of thinking that we are with the back against the wall, there's this expression, also in Hebrew, you have this. Then is no wall. It always continues, maybe in a very bad way, but it definitely continues. When we say I'm with the back against the wall, it means finished. There's no more, it cannot continue. That's total illusion. So whenever you hear somebody, whenever you come up with this kind of view, I cannot do anything, I'm with my back against the wall, say, but the wall is not there. There is always continuity. Even if everything falls apart, even if we die, this is for the Buddhists only, even if we die, we continue. Oh my gosh, Somebody at one point told me, said, my life is so difficult, and I thought at time of death everything is finished. Now you come and tell me that it continues. Well, I say, well, you don't have to believe it. This is just what Buddhism says. Also, even the Buddha said, now, be sure that you're sitting and, we're so attached to truth, right? So we're following somebody who said, what I'm telling you is not true. Wow. Buddha is very provocative, he really provoked. And then there's a but. But, so anybody knows that quote from the Buddha? What I'm saying is not true. It goes on the emptiness side, right? It goes on the ultimate truth. But it leads to truth. Yeah. What our ego mind is telling us, maybe what our politicians are telling us, not yours, not the ones that you would have chosen, is what our ego is telling us: if I have pleasure, I'll be happy. If I have what I want, I'll be happy. If my kids are okay, I'll be happy. If I'm looking, whatever, If I look beautiful, I am happy. If people would admire me, I am happy. I don't know, all these kind of things. And we totally believe it. So this is the first thing, to think that whatever is pleasant leads to lasting happiness. Of course, it gives us a moment of happiness. But it's totally subjective, this whole thing. When I came here and everybody, hello, I told Niv, I get frightened. Because I feel that you maybe want something from me that I can't give you. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not even, now my brain is going and I can't even remember all the things I used to remember from Buddhism. So, because I don't do it so much anymore. What I do mainly now is pujas and tantric practices. It's not sex, okay? With my age, come on. It's like visualizing yourself, like dissolving everything into emptiness, taking the result into the path and visualizing yourself as the deity, knowing that it's total illusion because even the deity is delusion. But it's a pure delusion because it comes out of compassionate wisdom. So anyway, it's kind of, yeah. Why am I doing this? Because you don't need so much brain anymore. You have a sadhana where it's written what you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to do, how you should visualize. I find it extremely effective to change the mind into compassionate wisdom. Unfortunately, not many people have access to that because it's religious, it's not reality, because you think, well, what do you mean I have a body of light? I imagine having a body of light. Oh, I'm very solid. Yeah, but all this, if you go to science, this solidity is what? True? It's true? The solidity, quantum physics, which I don't understand anything about it, I don't even try to explain, I just heard about it. Huh? It's not true, but we firmly believe in it. That things exist the way that they appear. And we act on that, and we act on wrong views, right? So we act on as if things are not impermanent. Impermanence doesn't mean, by the way, just changing moment by moment by moment by moment. Impermanence means they have come together through certain causes and conditions. Because they can come together, they will have to fall apart. But for us, the coming together when it's something good we like, yeah? And we want it to stay like that. It's totally, it cannot. It's impossible for things that exist through causes and conditions to stay the way they are. They have to change, otherwise they couldn't exist. So impermanence is not a bad word, or it's not a bad thing. It makes things function. Yeah, so it's a good one also. Yeah, and impermanence means we're going to die one day. Impermanence means the world is not going to be the way we see it now. We all know that thousands of years ago, where there's mountains now, there were oceans. Yeah? Or where there was, because you can find shelves in the stones. Oh, wow, but we go wow and we stay there. We're not imagining, but then what about the mountains? How did they come about? Where are the oceans now? So it's like, we can't even imagine. We think that the world is the way it is now, also falling apart, but still okay, but it should stay the way it is. So we project our kind of deluded mind, our mind with a veil, yeah, is projecting permanence, especially into things that we like. We have decided, I like it, even if somebody else dislikes it, but of course they are wrong and I am right, because I like it. That we decided, no, it should be like this, and then what? A lot of sadness, a lot of depression, a lot of comes out of it. I mean, impermanence in flowers. Now, I'm really happy because they always bring flowers in pots, so at least the impermanence is not shown so quickly. But when the flowers in pots fade, because there is more permanence protected than flowers in pots, you're more disappointed when they fade, because you go, oh, they didn't have enough water. Oh, they don't have enough space in those little pots. So they also die, even if they have earth and water, So anyway, but if it's flowers in a vase, you understand, well, they die because I cut them. I cut their root. You're not disappointed. You don't have to go to the therapist and say, oh, I have a real problem. Every time my flower bouquets fade, I get so sad and so depressed. See, it makes you laugh. But this is what we do. Everything is like a flower bouquet. Nothing has roots that it will last forever, that we can just nourish and nourish and nourish, and then it stays like that. This is why things are alive, and it's okay. Yeah, that's the first one, that we project permanence into things that by nature are impermanent. Is that frightening for those who hear for the first time, or is it liberating? It's definitely liberating for the bad things. Everything will end, at the latest when you're dead, for you. And it continues then, but that situation, or the climate warming, global warming, whatever, it will end. Yeah? So a bad thing or good thing? If we start to train the mind. So when I said, I'm doing these sadhanas and tantric practices, it's training the mind in the four immeasurables to open the heart. It's not threatening, because you just say the words, you don't have to do anything. You just have to train. It's making the mind familiar with that I am not what I think I am. I'm far bigger than that, but even that far bigger is also empty. Yeah, so you always take compassion and wisdom together. I find it very helpful. Unfortunately, not many people have access to this because it's religious. It's kind of fantasy. People come and say, yeah, well, what I visualize is just illusion. It's just fantasy. I said, yes. But you are also just fantasy. Then they go, no, I am real. But we are not as real as we think. Yeah. So the second kind of misconception that we have, big one, is that pleasure is happiness. Of course, it's a short moment of happiness. And we're so fortunate here in the West, not just in Switzerland, I think also here in Israel, because we're so developed, we can string these moments of happiness very close together. So we get we get an illusion of lasting happiness. When it's from pleasure, we can have lasting happiness. I'm not saying we cannot have it. But when the basis for the happiness is something impermanent, which is pleasure, because you just need to eat the same food every day. Your favorite food, you get fed up with it. Is that true? No. It's not true. I eat bread bread every day, the same bread. If they don't make it anymore in the bakery, I'm disappointed.